Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Roberta ended it before she started it. Hey guys, how are you tonight? Happy Sunday. Welcome to J is for Justice. My name is Jay, and it is Sunday, and I'm your host, and you're getting a double header. You're getting the Taylor Parker thing, and then at 7 o'clock Eastern, you are getting the the Debbie Collier case. I don't know why I keep saying Debbie. Or Connie. Jesus.
Roberta.
Okay, so first things first. Some of the wrenches may notice that they don't have wrenches anymore. That is because I haven't verified you. So what someone decided to do, when I got hacked, I had to remove all my moderators and everything. And I was like open about that. I let everybody know. And what they've done is they've started to clone, because on YouTube, they don't have where you have to, be verified. So you can make any name you want and you can put any profile picture you want. So what they did was they did that with a couple of my moderators and then came in search of wrenches. So I'm not playing games. So I am going to ask that everybody who has a wrench or who doesn't have a wrench that did, please email me, jisforjustice@gmail.com, so we can link up. I just have to make sure everybody is who they say they are. Sad but true. So moving forward, let me say hello to everyone who decided to join us today. Snow, hello Snow. Angie B.
Do you like to twirl?
Rex, good to see you. Heather J, always good to see you. Krugsies. Hey Trina. Thanks for joining me for week 2 of the Taylor Parker trial. Hey, Tough Tiff. Hey, Olive Juice. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I want to touch base with everyone and then make sure. Because, like I said, there's no protection of your name on YouTube, which sucks. So I apologize, but I have to protect my channel, and moderators have quite a bit of power. Stormwood, wrong case, babe, wrong case. Okay, let's get it. Hey, Rose. Rose, I don't know if you heard me, but please email me because people have been cloning my mods. So I got to make sure you are who you say you are. All right. We're going into week 2 of the Taylor Parker trial. And I found a recent picture of Miss Parker over to the right of your screen, which is over here. This way? No, this way. At any rate, let's start reading through. There's a lot. I got my Coke Zero.
Let me have a little fun, would you please?
Okay, so we're going to be starting at the end of the first week because I missed this one. So in the end of the first week, her ex-boyfriend and the Roberters who saw the video of the interview with Donnie, her name is Donnie U.S.C. This is her son that testified that day. So the defense asked U.S.C. whether Parker had ever been evaluated for mental illness. Prosecution took time to remind the jury that Parker was found competent to stand trial and that she's not insane. The defense has not denied Parker's various deceptions, instead questioning why they were believed in the first place. So they're not blaming Taylor for being deceptive. They're saying, why did these idiots believe her? I guess it's really all they have. They also questioned why no one contacted law enforcement about her fake pregnancy. This was rebuffed by an investigator who testified that it isn't illegal to fake a pregnancy. Now, I mean, take a step back. If you called the police right now and said, hey, this girl that used to be married to my son, she's been saying she's pregnant and like she had a hysterectomy and I know she's not. So what would you do? I mean, what do you think they would do? Hello, CEO. I think they would be like, has she committed any crimes? Well, no, sir. I think that, you know, if she is going to might kidnap a baby, well, if she hasn't done anything yet, there's nothing we can do. I mean, that's what you're going to hear, right? It's totally what you're going to hear. U.S.C. affirmed that he was with Parker through her tubal ligation and after the birth of her son, as well as her hysterectomy. U.S.C. said he was told by a doctor that endometriosis and a tubal pregnancy had been detected, and that since U.S.C. was already in the middle of ovarian cyst surgery, he had to make the decision of whether to remove her uterus. U.S.C. testified that Parker was angry upon learning of the decision. U.S.C. also testified of his attempts to warn Parker's boyfriend, Wade Griffin, using an anonymous number to contact him after learning that Parker was claiming to be pregnant. After U.S.C.'s second attempt to warn Griffin, phone records showed that Griffin sent a screenshot to Parker, whose own phone records then began searching for out-of-hospital births. Prosecution pointed to this as a crucial moment in the escalation of Parker's efforts to produce a baby. So then there was no testimony that day. And then we fast forward now to the next week. And this is where her mother and everybody testifies that week. Okay, so let's go on. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Cody Ott, who worked with Wade Griffin, Parker's boyfriend, and had stayed friends with them, testified that he attempted to warn Griffin that he felt something was off about Parker's pregnancy. Ott and his wife had gone out with Griffin and Parker on a few occasions, with Ott saying he initially believed Parker's stories about the pregnancy, the family fortune, but grew suspicious when checks Griffin was writing didn't clear for vehicles Parker was buying. Ott testified that he tried to counsel Griffin from quitting his roofing job. Around that time, Ott said that Griffin began receiving emails about an email account he was led to believe belonged to Parker's mother, Shona. The email account belonged to Mandy Body, is alleged by prosecutors to feed false information backing up claims Parker was making about her pregnancy and fortune. In mid-April, the Otts hosted a gender reveal party for Parker, despite their suspicions. It's crazy what people will do, even when they don't feel right about something. Ott said that eventually the suspicion became too much after hearing from too many family members and exes of Parker who expressed doubts about her claims. Griffin, however, was still under the belief that she was telling the truth, and a rift formed between the Otts and Griffin. Susie Ramirez, a former co-worker of Parker's from Northeast Texas Women's Health Clinic, testified that Parker went to the clinic requesting a copy of her medical records shortly before she began claiming to be pregnant. Parker had previously been a patient at the clinic. Ramirez testified that Parker alleged she had a mass in her abdomen that had a heartbeat, and a doctor wanted to biopsy it to determine viability. Ramirez testified that she was skeptical of Parker's claims, but listened to her story instead of questioning her. According to Ramirez, Parker was particularly interested in getting a copy of the ultrasound from her pregnancy in 2013, claiming that her daughter needed it for a school project. Ramirez and the clinic staff kept tabs on Parker as she began posting about her pregnancy on social media. The alleged baby, which Parker named Clancy Gale, underwent fictitious prenatal checkups and health scares, with Parker systematically blocking anyone who questioned the pregnancy. Ramirez, however, found a way to save Snapchat messages between she and Parker without Parker realizing it. This, Ramirez believes, is the reason she was the only one of the clinic staff invited to the gender reveal party, which she chose not to attend, in order to not give validity to Parker's claims. Ramirez later learned Parker had been using her name in stories about her prenatal checkups that never took place. Ramirez testified that Parker knew that HIPAA laws would keep anyone at the clinic from being able to contest her story, and Griffin was kept in the dark due to COVID preventing patients from coming into the office. However, Griffin did call the clinic on more than one occasion seeking information. The clinic did warn the hospital that Parker claimed that was supposed to deliver the baby. However, they believed that Parker's tale would end in a fake miscarriage. Finally, on Monday, the mother of Parker's boyfriend, Wade Griffin, took the stand. Connie Griffin testified that she attempted to counsel her son that Parker might not be pregnant. Griffin also said that she felt Parker was personable when they first met, and that she felt her personality drew people in. However, as the relationship between Parker and Wade Griffin continued, Connie said that she didn't believe the pair wanted the same things. Griffin also testified that Parker's money troubles started early in the relationship, with her constantly having issues with her family's alleged fortune and oil leases, royalties, and her inheritance. I guess she would have issues because they didn't exist. Griffin also stated that Parker seemed to take control of Wade's life, especially his home and finances. Parker's schemes also drew Wade in, Griffin said, including the ranch on the Red River, which dragged on for months before falling through. One of the biggest red flags in Parker's tales came when she purchased a car for Connie Griffin, which Parker later claimed needed to be recalled by the dealership for a brake pedal issue. Griffin said that she called the dealership to find out that the payment for the car had never gone through. Whenever money troubles would come up, Parker always seemed to have an excuse, including blaming her mother for locking her out of the family fortune. Parker had also made big promises to the Griffin family, including a new barn for Wade's father, a custom side-by-side, 20 head of cattle for the Red River property, and a new truck for Wade. Unfortunately, on this day, a juror fell ill, and they recessed until the next day. I mean, there's all kinds of craziness with every friend, and it seems like everybody was sus, but no one wanted to say anything. Yay, Angie B. Thank you. All right, so let's go on to the next day. I'm just going to keep it rolling because it's a lot. We did Cody Ott. Okay, so they pick up the next day after the one juror was sick. And through tears, Connie Griffin told the jury that she is unsure what else she could have done to confirm her suspicions about Parker faking a pregnancy. Griffin testified that she attempted to warn her son multiple times about Parker's pregnancy claims and constant money issues. Griffin affirmed that during the course of the relationship, she never confronted Parker directly. She also testified that she had considered hiring a private investigator. After confronting Wade Griffin with a message from Parker's ex-husband, she said her son cut off contact with her for almost 4 months. While she did eventually decide to attend the gender reveal party, she said that she did so only because she had just attended one for her other son and did not want to further damage her relationship with Wade. Griffin also testified that shortly after this, Wade came to her with messages which appeared to be from Parker's mother. And those emails claimed responsibility for all the woes that Taylor was having. Like, not Taylor's fault. After a fire at Wade's residence, the two showed up at Connie's house to shower. That morning, Parker had begun saying that she was due to be induced, but a bomb threat had shut the hospital down. Yeah, you called it in, Griffin testified, saying in response to the claim. While her son showered, Connie confronted Parker about a trip that Parker's mother had taken to Colorado with her other children. Parker had claimed for months that she didn't have a relationship with her mother. She got real quiet, Griffin said. Then as Parker showered, Connie confronted her son. She told him that she feared he would lose his job after taking time off under the FMLA, and that Parker was past her due date. She urged him to return to work and told him about Parker's hysterectomy. Wade, she is not pregnant, she recalled saying. She testified that her son was upset after hearing this, and once Parker finished showering, the two left. On the morning Parker was scheduled for induction, Connie went over to Wade's to look for his birth certificate. While inside the home, she testified seeing a crib, baby bouncer, and baby clothing. A few hours later, she heard the news about Reagan Hancock's murder. I honestly thought she would fake a miscarriage, Griffin said. After more testimony from Griffin, defense attorney Jeff Harrelson attempted to enter a letter Parker had written to Wade's father into evidence. This, along with a line of questioning by the defense that seemed to indicate that Wade Griffin may have been knowledgeable about her plans, prompted prosecutor Kelly Crisp to object. Crisp stated that the defense seemed to be trying to make a mitigation case, which would need to be argued during the punishment phase. Mitigation is typically when jurors hear testimony after a conviction before deciding on testimony or on sentencing. Harrelson, I'm just making up words. Harrelson denied ever claiming Wade Griffin as a co-perpetrator during the past 5.5 days of trial. Judge Tidwell denied Crisp's request, and more testimony resumed after the trial's lunch break. Testimony from expert witness Rick Jones, a forensic fire analyst and former fire marshal, indicated that as part of an insurance investigation through State Farm, he had found cause to believe that the house fire at the Wade Griffin residence had not been caused by an electrical issue, but rather by someone using a lighter he found near the fire's origin. Jones said that with the lighter as evidence, he believes the fire was a deliberate act of arson. Next on the stand was veteran Mount Pleasant Police Department investigator Travis Nichols, who testified he received the call about a bomb threat to the Titus Regional Medical Center. He said that the call seemed to be in a male voice and confirmed that it was the same day Parker told Griffin her inducement had been canceled. The hospital had over 100 patients who had to be evacuated before the threat was proven to be a false alarm. It was later determined that the call came from Parker using an app to disguise her voice. Tiffany Harris, a former friend of Parker's, testified that Parker wanted her to host a drive-by baby shower. We heard about this in that call with Donnie as well. Despite the fact that Harris's husband was undergoing bypass surgeries. During this time, Parker registered for baby gifts with a due date of September 28th. Harris said, and that's 3 days from now, Harris said that Parker always seemed sweet and charming, as others had testified. 2 employees from an OB/GYN clinic in Paris, Texas, gave testimony about Parker's new patient appointment on September 30th, 2020. One, a receptionist, testified that she found Parker crying in the lobby. Parker told the employee that her mother had failed to show up and that she wanted to reschedule. When asked why she was crying, the employee testified that Parker claimed her husband was in the military and had been killed.
What?
An RN at the clinic affirmed that Parker's emotional outbursts prompted a doctor to try to console her, even offering a sonogram she could take with her.
Oh, man.
Parker turned down the offer, which struck the RN as odd, since mothers-to-be usually want to get as many sonograms as they can. Parker rescheduled the appointment for the next day but didn't show up. Both women testified that Parker was still sitting on a bench outside the clinic over an hour later, observing other pregnant women coming and going from the clinic. Parker's Google search history shows that as she was sitting at the clinic that day, she was looking up license plate numbers of the pregnant patients. Jurors also heard from Blake Aubrey, a human resources manager from Cooper Tire. He testified that Parker was hired in March 2020 as a payroll clerk and that she nailed her interview process. "We thought we knocked it out of the park when we hired her," Aubrey said. However, it became apparent that Parker had lied about her qualifications and her job performance suffered. Aubrey said she had a habit of conducting personal business while on the clock, including spending a large amount of time on her phone. Aubrey also confirmed that texts Parker had sent Wade Griffin about her job duties did not match what she actually did at work. Aubrey also testified that she never mentioned being pregnant at work, though she did have several medical issues during her time there. She ultimately quit via text message. A witness from Parker's next employer claimed that she never brought up a pregnancy while employed and that she never appeared to be pregnant at work. So today's testimony is set to include a crime scene investigator who worked the scene of Reagan's murder. Okay, now let's go to the next day. Chilling, isn't it? Chilling. This girl set fire to her boyfriend's house. The lies go on and on and on and on and on like a web. It's just like one lie, and then you've got 50 off one lie, and then 50 off those lies because you've got to keep lying. It's a horrible, horrible thing. I don't know how she could keep it all straight. Chick's crazy, man. So this was probably the toughest day for the jury and everyone in the courtroom. Okay, an Easy Mart store manager produced a receipt. This was last Wednesday. That confirms Parker bought gas at a gas station only 1.8 miles from Hancock's home at 6:46 a.m. Texas DPS Special Agent Eric Estes showed surveillance images that Parker was at the station wearing a jacket identical to the one she's wearing in a photo taken from her phone on October 8th. It was established through Hancock's social media account that she and Parker knew each other as far back as September of 2019. Receipts presented also showed that Parker purchased and downloaded phone apps to allow calls and text via internet, allowing users to spoof different names and numbers. Phone records showed that Hancock had been communicating with one of these numbers from Parker's phone app on the morning of the murder. New Boston ISD Director of Technology produced footage from a school bus. Isn't that something? From a school bus that passed Hancock's house the morning of the murder, showing no vehicles in Hancock's driveway at 7:22 a.m. Patricia Bradford, a neighbor of Hancock, testified that a dark-colored Toyota Corolla was parked in Hancock's driveway between 7:30 and 7:40 that morning as she left for work. Bradford's son called her around 10 a.m. to tell her that someone was screaming and crying next door. Oh my goodness, how awful. Neighbor Brittany Thompson testified to seeing Hancock's garage door open and her car inside around 7:45, seeing Hancock's new puppy roaming the street. She texted Hancock's husband Homer about the dog before following her mother across the street to knock on the door inside the garage. The women found the door slightly ajar, and she texted Homer again to let him know that no one was answering their knocks. The women put the puppy back over the fence and left to go shopping. Around 10:35, Homer called Brittany Thompson to tell her Reagan was dead. Thompson testified that she had seen a dark-colored vehicle the night before outside the Hancock's home. Next, the jury heard from 911 dispatcher Katie Jimenez, who took two calls that morning. At 9:36, Taylor Parker called crying, alleging she was in need of an ambulance because a state trooper was following her. She alleged that she'd just given birth and she was on her way to Idabel. The other call came in just after 10:15 and was from Hancock's mother, Jessica Brooks, who was almost unintelligible as she told Jimenez that her daughter had been murdered. Brooks is heard calling out to her husband, Marcus, who had entered the house with her that morning, asking if their granddaughter, Kinley, was hurt. After almost 3 minutes, the call picks up Kinley's voice asking, "Where's Mommy?" Oh, sweet Jesus. Dispatch recording were played from the traffic stop in DeKalb, with the trooper informing the dispatcher that the baby wasn't breathing and that Parker was performing CPR. He informed dispatch of their location across from the middle school. Throughout the interaction, Parker insists on traveling to Idabel, pleading with the trooper to put she and the baby in his car and take them to Oklahoma. The trooper asked the age of the infant, with Parker responding, "The baby is only like maybe 35 minutes old." This prompted First Assistant District Attorney Lauren Richards to ask the dispatcher if that corroborated with Parker's claim to the 911 dispatcher that she just started having the baby. The dispatcher answered no. Parker can be heard on the dispatch recording refusing to go to St. Michael's or Titus Regional, insisting that her doctor was in Oklahoma and that she would drive herself if need be. Jurors also heard the end of a call between Parker and Wade Griffin, as she told him she had started pushing the baby out while driving. I can't. Scott Robinson, the owner of Side by Side Ranch in Wynwood, Oklahoma, took the stand after the lunch break. Robinson purchases hogs and clients hunt on his property and testified that Taylor Griffin attempted to sell hogs to him on September 22nd over the phone. He said that red flags appeared at once, as she knew nothing about licensing to transport livestock and wanted money up front. Robinson testified that Parker initially told him the load was coming from Texas. The load?
We planted flowers on the side of the house.
But when he said he couldn't take livestock from out of state, she changed her point of origin to Oklahoma. After asking about her license to transport, her confusion called him to call off the deal. She texted him 5 days later with excuses about the license and claimed it was all straightened out. Robinson again refused her offer. Wade Griffin arrived at Side by Side Ranch at 7:35 a.m. on October 9th with a trailer full of hogs. Robinson testified that he was surprised, as he had ordered none, and got a call from a ranch hand that a man had just pulled a gooseneck trailer full of them onto the property. Robinson said that Griffin, who he didn't know, showed him a series of text messages that were allegedly from Robinson, offering to buy the hogs for $6,100. When Griffin showed Robinson the text, he quickly pointed out that they hadn't come from him, as the area code was from Oklahoma, and Robinson had never changed his Dallas number after relocating. Once Robinson realized that Wade's last name was Griffin, he put two and two together, showing Griffin the text from the previous 2 weeks with him and Taylor. Once the morning went on, Robinson's ranch manager told them Griffin needed to get rid of the hogs, as he had driven 4 hours to get them there. Robinson initially refused, pointing out that he wouldn't touch them without proper licensing. However, as the day got hotter, the manager struck a deal for the hogs at $2,500. Griffin left the ranch around 10 a.m. Alonzo Chavers Jr. was next on the stand. Chavers, the DPS trooper who made the traffic stop, testified he pulled over Parker as he observed her driving erratically and speeding down U.S. 82. Chavers said that she had her hazard lights on and that she waved at him frantically after pulling over. He testified that the 09 Toyota Corolla she was driving was registered to Wade Griffin. When he approached, he observed Parker with the baby in her lap. She was on the phone with 911 when he approached. Chavers said the baby had the umbilical cord attached and the other end was tucked into Parker's yoga pants. He asked during the stop why she didn't want to go to St. Michael's or Titus, and she said that St. Michael's had hurt her previous child. Chavers testified that the hand holding up Parker's phone during the stop was shaking, but the one on the baby... Chavers testified that the hand holding up Parker's phone during the stop was shaking, but the one on the baby in her lap was perfectly still. What does that mean? Amanda Perkey, an employee of the middle school, had training as a nurse and stopped to help. Performing CPR on the baby, Perkey, as well as an off-duty EMT who stopped to help, convinced Parker that they needed her to take off her yoga pants, as she'd just given birth and they needed to check for trauma. As the pair cut off her pants with trauma shears, placenta fell into the floor of the car. They got her into pajama pants that were in her vehicle, and Parker can be seen on the trooper's dash cam as she slowly moves to the cruiser, seemingly in pain. After getting Parker in the cruiser, Chavers returned to the Corolla, documenting the umbilical cord and placenta, noting that there was no blood on the driver's seat. EMTs load Parker onto a gurney, and she can be heard yelling that she wants to go to Idabel. Perkins testified that when she arrived, the baby was blue around the mouth and was cold and clammy to the touch. She also testified that the baby wasn't messy, like one had just been born, but looked as though it had been cleaned up and wiped off. Perky heard Parker respond to an EMT who asked what her due date was. When Parker answered the 30th, the pair assumed initially that she meant October. The EMT commented that the baby had been born early, with Parker correcting her that the due date was in September. Perky said that she and the EMT looked at each other with concern over how small the baby appeared. Finally, Hancock's husband took the stand. Homer Hancock testified that the pair had been together for 5 years before marrying September 21st of 2019. Their wedding anniversary was just 4 days ago, 3 days ago, in the midst of this trial. I can't. His testimony came on what would have been their 3-year anniversary. See, I can't. Parker was the photographer at their wedding. He told the jury that Reagan's daughter, Kinley, wasn't his biological daughter and that they wanted a baby of their own. When Reagan got pregnant, they named the baby Braxlyn Sage. What a pretty name. Homer went on to testify that Parker was in their home the night before the murders and that she arrived just after the family finished dinner. He testified that Parker wasn't necessarily a close friend, but the previous week had seen an increase in texts between she and Reagan. He testified that Parker had even gotten Reagan a gift for the baby. Homer testified that he needed to go to bed, so he excused himself to do so. He could hear Reagan and Parker talking in Braxlyn's nursery, with Parker saying that she could help decorate it. He was unsure what time Parker left the home. He went to work the next morning and began receiving texts from Reagan around 7 a.m. He said initially the text sounded like his wife, but the tone took an abrupt shift. The text, allegedly from Reagan, began talking about how she wanted to be happy and that it wasn't working. Around 8:30, the person texting Homer seemed to be ending the conversation. His final text saying, "I love you," went unanswered. Reagan's phone was never recovered from the crime scene. Almost an hour later, he received the text from Brittany Thompson about the dog being outside. He testified that he grew concerned when Reagan didn't answer his call. Thompson's next text about the garage door being open prompted him to start driving home to New Boston from Texarkana. On the way home, he called Kinley's daycare and attempted to call Reagan's phone almost a half a dozen times before he got home. When he pulled up, he found Kinley in the driveway and crime scene tape all around his house. He was informed that his wife had died as paramedics came and went from the home. He said that he hasn't been back except to pick up some personal items. That is absolutely horrific. Horrific. Poor man. I wonder if he's still got her biological daughter. Let's keep going. Makes me sick. All right, so now on to her mother. And her mother was the last testimony last week. And then we have this week and then next week. And they don't have testimony on Fridays. So it's 4 days, Monday through Thursday. And it's expected to be 4 weeks. So we have 2 more weeks. Jessica Brooks, who is Reagan's mom, testified about the close relationship she and her daughter shared and how she had been the one to hire Parker to take the engagement photos, as well as the photography for their wedding. Brooks testified that she didn't recall Parker and Hancock being in frequent contact until Hancock announced she was pregnant with a girl. Brooks recalled that there was talk of Parker taking Hancock's pregnancy photos, but the shoot never happened after Parker claimed a medical issue. Brooks said that she was surprised that Hancock and Parker decided to get together to hang out the week of the murder. Brooks then spoke of the morning of the murder. She had been at work when she received a call from Homer telling her that she wasn't able to reach Reagan on her phone. Brooks went to the daycare to check on her granddaughter, but knew something was deeply wrong when a worker informed her that Kinley hadn't been dropped off that morning. Brooks testified that her fear mounted as she approached the Hancock's home, even saying that she had briefly pulled into the police station on the way to tell them something might be wrong. That's that mother's instinct. When she turned the corner onto Austin Street, her heart sank when she saw the garage door was open. Brooks cried on the stand as she recalled finding blood in the driveway and garage as she approached the door to the house. "There's a bloody fingerprint on my baby's doorknob," Brooks said through tears. Brooks used a work shirt to open the door, but backed out of the house when she saw a bloody footprint on the kitchen floor. She said she knew she had to get to her daughter if she was hurt, so she stepped back into the house and found Hancock lying face down on the floor with one arm over her head. Brooks said her daughter's blonde hair was soaked red from blood and the kitchen was wrecked. Brooks said she knew that Reagan was already gone, but she called to her anyway, yelling her name and pleading for Reagan to say something. She recalled that the house was quiet and dark, and she grew afraid to look for her granddaughter. She left the house and fell to her knees. Brooks said she was yelling, "Somebody's murdered my baby. There's blood everywhere." Brooks' husband Marcus arrived shortly with his friend Chris Hughes. Brooks said that she pleaded with her husband not to go inside. He entered the kitchen, then abruptly came out with a hand over his mouth. Marcus fell to the ground in the driveway and began having chest pains. When he took the stand, Marcus testified that his first thought was of his granddaughter. The Brookses couldn't bear to face the scene again, with the prospect of stepping over their daughter's bloodied body. This is absolutely horrible. Chris Hughes, upon taking the stand, said that he tried to go through the front door but found it locked. While there, he heard Marcus yelling that he heard Kinley inside when he called to her. Hughes stepped around Reagan's body and pooled blood as he made his way into the darkened interior of the residence. He found Kinley on her bed under a blanket. Hughes testified that it took Kinley a moment to realize who he was before she ran into his arms. Hughes scooped her up and covered her head with a blanket to spare her the sight of her mother before bringing her outside. Homer Hancock arrived then, with Marcus and Hughes struggling to keep him from going inside. Paramedics who had ridden with Parker from the scene of the traffic stop in DeKalb took the stand as well. Kelly Gerard said that he felt as though Parker played him for a fool. He had recently lost a child himself and tried to comfort a woman he believed had just gone through the trauma of giving birth in a car. Elton Crosswood testified that Parker had said she was driving when the baby was born, but the paramedics said that it was obvious the baby hadn't just been born. Crosswood had been trying to revive the baby, giving her ephedrine, performing CPR and intubating her. Eventually, her heartbeat returned, and Crosswood recalled a feeling of relief in the ambulance as the baby's pulse strengthened. But Braxton Sage Hancock died later at the hospital. Horrific. That is week 2 of this trial. Can you imagine? I know, right, Potato? What did this poor baby hear or see? She was under a blanket on her bed. You know she was scared. And they got a heartbeat back on the baby. They actually got a heartbeat back. And, they probably felt like, oh my gosh, this is amazing that the baby might survive. And then poor Homer. It's so freaking sad. All right, well, that concludes week 2 of the E-Vile. Taylor Parker. Yeah, it is. It's way too damn much. It's really, really bad. So, I'm going to end this here, but make sure that you click the notification when we end this live. You're going to be redirected after you dance your ass off You're going to be redirected to the live for tonight. Okay.
She liked to twirl.
And I believe we're going to have a special guest tonight up on panel. I think Potato might join me tonight. So 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have tons of updates on this Debbie Collier. So much. Her daughter's house was searched yesterday. There's body cam from 2021. There's all kinds of stuff. No, this trial there's no cameras allowed. So we are reading recaps. But terrifying that she followed women on social media that were pregnant, Facebook groups, sat at OBGYN clinics. She, and then she heard that Reagan was having a girl. Ultra Dark, if you want to call in tonight, you can, but you have to show your face. There's no cardboard cutouts on panel.
These nuts.
I run a tight ship now, Ultra Dark CEO.
Yeah, they're loud and beefy.
All right, you guys, I will check my emails. Please email me, jsforjustice@gmail.com. If you had a wrench and no longer do, please email me so I can verify yo ass. Yo asses.
Hi, Jennifer.
Sure.
Sure.
All right, you guys, dance it out. See you at 7 tonight. Bye. Roberters.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time, I ain't got time, I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I'll never call you back. 'Cause I ain't got time, I ain't got time. I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time, I ain't got time, I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool.